Error messages are way too complicated. Help me now, by user Salavora_M. A very long time ago, I worked in a meat processing plant. Deep in the bowels of the plant was a room with 3 computers that ran the software for tracking. You need to be able to say what sausage came from which cow once it is all done, as well as everything needed to create the shift plan for the workers. In order to reach it, you had to put on a hairnet, shoe covers, coat and I think it was disposable gloves as well, and then you had to find a way to this room that wasn't currently closed off because a machine was currently being cleaned, and unless you wanted to be soaking wet afterwards, you did not go near that. Our IT department was in the adjacent building to the plant. One day, we got an urgent call from that room. The shift manager wasn't able to print something very important. The dumb computer only gave him an error message every time he clicked print. Help! I asked him to read the message to me and he replied along the lines of those error messages are way too complicated. You need to come here and fix it. Now. So I went, dressed up as mentioned above, managed to find a mostly dry way to reach the room, and read the error message, printer out of paper. Please refill paper. I don't remember the exact message as it has been nearly 20 years, but I remember that it certainly did say what needed to be done. So I refilled the paper and miraculously, the printer printed once more. Cannot remember if I cleared the queue first or if his oh so important document had been printed like a dozen times. The guy just stared at me, dumbfounded. That was all? I could have done that. Me, well, as the error said, the printer was out of paper and needed to be refilled, so once I did that the problem was gone and the printer could print again. Any other problems I can help you with? No. Thanks. The time I helped someone set up MFA, and it went exactly as you'd expect, by user C-Bother4765. Hey everyone! So, I was helping someone set up multi-factor authentication, MFA, the other day, and let's just say, it did not go smoothly. It started off simple enough. She's trying to sign into her email, and she asks me. I'm trying to sign into my emails and it's asking me to type my password in. Do I need to type my password in? Yes. Yes, you do. That's generally how signing in works. Then, we move on. She says. Now it's telling me to click on next. Am I supposed to click on next? At this point, I'm just staring at the screen like, tough one, but I'm gonna go with yes. But here's where it gets better. We finally get to the part where she needs to type in the 2 numbers from her authenticator app. She types them in wrong. Tries again wrong. One more time still wrong. I'm sitting there, questioning everything: her phone, the app, my life choices. After what felt like an eternity of failed attempts and endless troubleshooting, I finally figure it out. She wasn't even looking at her screen. She was just typing in 2 random numbers every time. Like the universe was gonna magically accept whatever secret code she was making up. Please could I have more storage on my OneDrive, by user 123 King Reddit. No, I can't increase OneDrive, we have a fixed limit on user OneDrive space, and you need to clear it out. Except that's just too easy. Of course, 100 GB limit on OneDrive space is a lot, and it seems baffling how anyone, even an $R teacher, could use that amount of space, but here we are. This ticket has been bouncing around a bit, and $coworker had essentially replied to the ticket with the opening line of this post. Of course, $R teacher didn't find this answer as enlightening or informative as $CO worker had hoped for, so I, in my infinite wisdom, suggested whether there was folders or files that would be better suited to being on Teams, rather than her personal OneDrive. Foreshadowing. This apparently wasn't the answer $R teacher was hoping for either, and escalated the ticket to the very busy network manager, business manager, health and safety lead, and line manager for all facilities and IT staff, too many roles. Too many roles had a look at the OneDrive, and couldn't identify what was taking up the space. Being that her many hands are in many pies, and toes are in even smaller pies, with pies also balancing precariously on noses, she didn't have too much time to diagnose the issue. And so here's where I step in. I decide that if we can't easily figure out where the large file is via the usual tools, I'll use a sledgehammer to crack a nut, and download the entirety of $R teacher's OneDrive, and then run windirstat on the resulting file structure. Seems a pretty foolproof plan, despite the fact the 96 GB download was going to take a few hours at the 100 Mbps my network card was reporting. Except it didn't take ages. It took about 10 minutes, and the file was 5 GB big when uncompressed. lolwoot.jpg. Now some of you who might be more familiar to OneDrive and its quirks have probably already figured out the root cause, but for the rest of you, I will hold you in suspense. My first thought was that not everything was downloaded. After checking a few folders, I confirmed that I hadn't found anything missing. Most files were about 250 MB at the largest, and nothing particularly concerning. It was just a file structure holding work from $art teachers students. So I get to googling how and why OneDrive would misreport space, and the answer seemed obvious with hindsight. Versioning. For those unfamiliar, OneDrive, and Teams, and most other Microsoft Cloud file stores implement versioning. Essentially, every edit, or every so often when editing, OneDrive will take a snapshot of a file, and store it, so files can be rolled back if unwanted edits occur or data loss happens from fat fingering the delete key. Seems great, and it is. Usually. Looking down the version history of one of the files, about 250 MB I'll add, it shows that $art teacher has edited the file, then $student1 has also edited, ad infinitum, or up to version 55.0 at least. It seems most of these documents have been shared with students, and they have been actively working on them. Well, there is a problem.gif. So the reason that $art teacher has run out of disk space, is because she tried to reinvent the wheel. Instead of using Teams, a resource with essentially unlimited space, she has decided to recreate Teams in her personal OneDrive, by sharing files and folders with her students. As these students have continued working on these documents, the versioning snapshots the files continuously, leading to upwards of 50 snapshots of a 200 MB document, mostly pictures, multiplied by about 20 students. I then kindly suggested to $art teacher that her OneDrive isn't somewhere where students should be working from, and that those files really should be put in her class Teams. But it's supposed to be free, by user Modaman 11. So the year is 2010 or thereabouts, and I'm working tech support for a cable TV provider. Me, greeting goes here. Him, hi, I just watched a show a few minutes ago and was charged for it, so I need it credited. It's called, insert name of an adult title here, and was $20. At the time, the only way to know this quickly what something cost was to look at the screen before clicking the clearly labeled buy/rent button that had a dollar amount next to it. No SMS alerts that something was purchased, no viewing our bill online, or any of the other fancy stuff we have today. There were also no plans you can subscribe to that gave you free access to adult content. So yeah, only 2 sentences into the conversation and I already know he's just trying to get free stuff, and I haven't even pulled up the account yet to look at anything. Me, oh, I'm sorry, did the title not play correctly? Him, no, it was supposed to be free. I pay for my service already so shouldn't be charged. And there it is. We are allowed to issue credits for things like this, but it's at our discretion. Generally speaking though, it's a one-time courtesy, and if needed, we should then educate customer on how to identify free/paid content, and possibly set up purchase pins to prevent accidental purchases in the future, like if it was a kid mashing buttons on the remote or something, it happens. So I review the account and see he watched 100% of the content. I then review the account notes and previously issued credits, and see he was already issued numerous credits, all for adult titles, in the past few days. But then something catches my eye. You know how the scroll bars on PC shrink the more content is in the list or on the page. On the screen that lists the amount of credits that were previously issued to the customer, that scroll bar was small. And I mean, very small. But what is shown without scrolling is more than enough for me to deny the credit request. Me, I'm sorry but I am unable to credit it from your account as it appears you watched the whole thing, and you've already received more credits than are allowed. All titles are clearly labeled how much they cost before you press play and are charged for them. Do you need me to help you identify whether a program is paid or free so this issue does not happen again in the future? Him, no. Thank you. He hangs up abruptly. I left a detailed note on the account saying that I did offer to help him with any issues he had understanding the already obvious difference between free and paid, and he declined. So I go back to the screen that lists the previously issued credits. I see a lot of credits for adult titles. And I mean, a lot dating back as far as the system let me, which was about 6 months. I see at least 10 PPVs per day are getting credited, and every few days a live TV subscription for an adult TV channel is added then removed, which he also requests credit for. I get my calculator out and add it up, and he's gotten credits totaling in excess of $10,000. All for adult content. Yet no notes of the customer even trying to come up with some excuse as to why it keeps happening. And that didn't even include all the stuff he didn't get credited. I was already on the cusp of getting in trouble for staying off the phone for too long, so wasn't going to spend potentially hours comparing each charge to see if there was a corresponding credit, so have no clue if he was overcredited more than was charged, or undercredited and was still paying for some of it. I continue to monitor the account for the next week, and the trend continues. He keeps ordering his adult content several times a day, calling back for credits claiming should be free. He gets a few more credits from other people. So I send it up the chain to my supervisor, who sends it over to AR. They are rather shocked at the credit he's received. Usually anything over $100 gets looked at by a supervisor, anything over $200 goes to a manager, and so on, but somehow this guy slips through the cracks. AR sets the credit limit on the account to 0, effectively blocking him from ordering any paid content, and leaves a permanent note on the account. I continue to monitor the account for the next week or two, and see he's still trying to order paid content, but now the system is throwing up error messages automatically blocking him. He calls in a few more times, this time asking why he's getting error messages when he tries to press the buy/rent button, and he is repeatedly told he is no longer allowed because he didn't learn his lesson the first several thousand times. A few days later, the trend finally stops. He stops even trying to order things. I guess he got the hint that he needs to be responsible for paying for what he watches, and maybe sign up for that temporary fad called the internet. Do nothing. It works now, by user Barere. I work as a project manager/tech lead for a small creative agency. We do marketing and web design/development, as well as maintenance for the sites we've built. Since we only have 12 people total, I'm also frontline tech support for any issues that come in. Last week late in the day we get a client emailing that they can't upload PDFs to their WordPress site, and the error maybe said something about a firewall. Their admin area is locked down based on IP, so I have them send their IP address and try to whitelist it. No dice, it's already in their whitelist. I ask for a screenshot of the error, which yes, I should have done in the first place, but it's always a 50-50th split on whether people know how to do that, lol. It's one of those generic something is up with the server, try again later messages. I have a dev take a look, server is running fine. Now, since we're such a small shop, I also do content entry for new sites when we're in a rush. I realize the last time I saw this error was when multiple people were trying to upload content at the same time, and the error resolved itself about half an hour later. So my next steps are, nothing. I wait a day and a half, longer than usual, but we had a site launch and I got busy, then tell the client we tried a few things and to see if the error is resolved now. I get an email back thanking us for all our hard work and that we fixed the error and are amazing for helping so quickly. And that's how I fixed an error, by doing nothing.